There are shadows that creep into the quiet corners of our lives, places we think are safe, sacred. And sometimes those shadows aren't where you expect them. They lurk not in dark alleys, but in bright homes. They hide not in plain sight, but within the very connections we trust daily. For generations, we, as a people, have known what it feels like to be watched, to be judged, to have our spaces invaded. But what happens when the very technology meant to keep us safe becomes the unseen eye that threatens everything? This is the story of Liam Maxwell, a brilliant black man in a quiet suburban haven, whose only wish was to be left alone with his genius. It's the story of a tiny digital glitch that ripped open a terrifying truth, unmasking a betrayal so close to home it would shatter a community's fragile peace. Get ready, because what happened in Willow Creek will make you question everything you thought you knew about privacy, trust, and the true cost of judgment. You might just recognize yourself, or someone you know, in this chilling tale. Life in Willow Creek was supposed to be simple, predictable, a gentle hum of suburban peace, and for Liam Maxwell, that's exactly how he liked it. Tucked away on Ashwood Lane, Liam was a software engineer, brilliant in his field, a meticulous architect of digital worlds. He wasn't the kind for backyard barbecues or neighborhood watch meetings. He preferred the quiet hum of his servers, the rhythmic click of his keyboard, the solitude that allowed his genius to flourish. To him, his home was his sanctuary, a perfectly optimized machine, efficient, precise, and running silently in the background, much like himself. But sometimes, the most silent systems are the ones hiding the loudest problems. Liam noticed it first as a subtle stutter in his morning video calls, then an unexplained spike in his data usage, a ghost in the machine that shouldn't be there. It was like a perfectly tuned engine suddenly misfiring, just slightly, enough to annoy a perfectionist like Liam. Most people would just shrug, blame the internet provider, or simply reboot their router. But Liam wasn't most people. He was a digital detective, and this glitch, this tiny, persistent anomaly, gnawed at him. He knew his network like the back of his hand. Every device, every connection, every byte of data had a purpose. This phantom wasn't just a bug, it was an intruder. How many times have we, in our own lives, ignored a small, nagging feeling, a tiny disruption, only to find out later it was the tip of a much larger, more sinister iceberg? He dug deeper, past the surface-level diagnostics, into the very core of his home network, and there it was, glaring back at him from his router's connected devices list. WillowNet Observer. Not some random string of numbers, but a deliberately named presence, a digital squatter mocking his meticulously crafted system. Annoyance simmered, quickly replaced by a cold professional intrigue. Who was this observer, and what were they observing? For a man who prized his privacy above all else, this was more than just a tech issue. It was a profound violation of his sanctuary. Meanwhile, just a few houses down, Brenda Johnson was watching. Brenda was a fixture of Willow Creek, a well-meaning but overly watchful soul who considered herself the unofficial mayor of Ashwood Lane. She saw everything, or at least she thought she did. And what she saw in Liam Maxwell was a problem. He didn't come to the block parties, he kept his yard neat, but never stopped to chat. He was different. For Brenda, Liam's quiet nature wasn't peaceful, it was suspicious. In her mind, quiet meant secretive, private meant hiding something. Especially for black men, this quietness can sometimes be misconstrued, leading to heightened scrutiny, making even the most mundane actions feel like walking on eggshells. So when Brenda glanced out her kitchen window that Thursday afternoon, she saw Liam hunched over his router in his driveway, fingers flying across his phone screen. To her, it wasn't a man fixing his Wi-Fi. It was a man messing with something, looking around like he was hiding a secret. Brenda's mind, already primed with suspicion, jumped straight to the worst conclusion. He's hacking, she thought, without a shred of evidence, her gut twisting with a certainty born of bias, not facts. Before she could talk herself out of it, before logic could whisper a word of caution, Brenda grabbed her phone. The phone call that followed wasn't born of malice, but of misguided certainty, a deep-seated assumption that would soon unravel far more than just Liam's quiet afternoon. It would pull back the curtain on a far more chilling reality, exposing the unseen eyes that were truly watching Willow Creek. The wail of sirens cut through the afternoon quiet, a jarring intrusion in the tranquil hum of Willow Creek. Liam barely registered them at first, but then the squad car slowed, pulling to a halt directly in front of his house. Two figures emerged. Detective Reynolds, a seasoned officer with an air of quiet authority, his dark eyes missing nothing, and his younger partner, Officer Davis, by the book and visibly on edge. The air thickened. For a black man in America, The arrival of flashing blue lights is never a routine matter, even in the safety of his own driveway. The weight of generations of unjust scrutiny settled on Liam's shoulders, a silent warning to keep his composure, to choose every word with care. "Mr. Maxwell?" Detective Reynolds' voice was calm, but his gaze was sharp. "We received a call about suspicious activity." Liam looked between the officers, then back at his router. "Suspicious activity?" "He was simply fixing his Wi-Fi," he explained, his voice steady, his explanation precise. "I'm changing my Wi-Fi password. Someone I don't recognize has been connected to my network." Just as he finished, a voice cut through the tension, shrill and accusatory. "He's lying. He's always out here messing with his phone, looking around like he's watching people." Brenda Johnson stood on her porch, arms crossed, her face a mask of self-righteous conviction. She was relentless, refusing to back down, her unfounded certainty echoing in the quiet street. Detective Reynolds, sensing the rising tension, turned to Brenda, his voice firm. "Ma'am, do you have any evidence Mr. Maxwell has done anything illegal?" Brenda hesitated, her confidence wavering for a fraction of a second. I just feel it. You should check him." Liam clenched his jaw. He shouldn't have to prove his innocence on his own property, but he knew how these situations could spiral. He unlocked his phone, pulling up his router settings. "Fine," he muttered. "Take a look." Detective Reynolds leaned in, his eyes scanning the list of connected devices, and that's when his expression shifted. The calm mask cracked, replaced by a flicker of surprise, then something akin to grim understanding. There it was. WillowNet Observer. Still connected. Still active. "Who owns this device, Mr. Maxwell?" Reynolds asked, his voice now devoid of suspicion, replaced by a serious investigative tone. Liam shook his head. "Not me." Officer Davis stepped closer, her eyebrows raised. "So someone's been using your Wi-Fi without permission?" Liam nodded, but then his eyes narrowed, staring intently at his screen. "And I don't think they were just stealing internet, officer. Look at the connection logs. It's been running non-stop. Someone's been watching." The word hung in the air, heavy and chilling. Brenda, still on her porch, suddenly looked uncomfortable, her earlier bravado melting away. "Wait. What do you mean, watching?" Liam looked at her, his gaze unwavering. "I mean someone has been spying, and they might be watching all of us. This wasn't a petty neighbor dispute anymore. This was a full-blown digital shadow lurking in their peaceful community." The initial suspicious activity had been merely a veil, and now the true, unsettling nature of the threat was beginning to emerge from the digital depths. The tension inside Liam's living room was palpable, thick with the unspoken fear of invasion. Liam didn't waste a second. He mirrored his phone's router settings onto his laptop, the glowing screen illuminating the gravity of the situation. There it was. WillowNet Observer, still active, still a ghostly presence in their digital lives. Officer Davis leaned in, her voice hushed. "Can you tell what kind of device this is?" Liam's fingers flew across the keyboard, navigating through complex logs and data streams. "I can't tell exactly, but—" He paused, his breath catching in his throat. His eyes widened, fixed on a new set of data. Detective Reynolds noticed the shift. "What is it, Mr. Maxwell?" Liam's voice was a strained whisper. "It's been accessing camera feeds." The room went dead silent. Brenda, who had reluctantly followed them inside, blinked, her face a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. "What camera feeds?" Liam slowly turned the laptop screen towards them, the grim truth illuminated on his face. "Mine," he said, the word a hammer blow. "My home security cameras. Someone's been logging in and watching my live feeds." Officer Davis's expression hardened. "You're saying someone has been spying on you through your own security system?" "That's exactly what I'm saying," Liam affirmed, his voice tight with barely contained rage. But then his stomach dropped. As he scrolled further, a sickening realization washed over him. It wasn't just his cameras. His system had flagged multiple IP addresses, some belonging to his network, but others were different. "Oh, this is bad," Liam murmured, his voice barely audible. Reynolds leaned closer. "What do you mean?" Liam tapped the screen, highlighting the damning evidence. "Whoever this is, they're not just watching me, they're watching other people in the neighborhood." Brenda stumbled back, shaking her head. No, that can't be right." Liam looked at her, his eyes cold and direct. "You sure about that, Brenda?" He clicked another log and a new feed opened. A dimly lit hallway appeared, then a living room, then a bedroom. Brenda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Wait, that's my house!" She stumbled backward, pressing her hand over her mouth, her face pale with shock. Detective Reynolds' jaw tightened. How the hell is this happening? Liam gritted his teeth. If I had to guess, someone in the neighborhood set up a fake network. A Wi-Fi signal that looks like a normal connection. People unknowingly connect to it. And once they do, their devices get compromised. Officer Davis's face darkened. You mean a man-in-the-middle attack? Liam nodded. Exactly. Brenda's voice shook, fragile as glass. So, you're saying someone's been watching me? My family? Liam's eyes didn't leave hers. That's exactly what I'm saying. She sank into a chair, her hands trembling, the weight of her error crushing her. Oh my God! Detective Reynolds' voice was sharp, cutting through the stunned silence. All right, we need to figure out who's behind this, and fast. But Liam was already ahead of them. He continued digging, pulling up IP logs, tracing the digital breadcrumbs. Wait, this can't be right, he muttered, his fingers freezing. He turned the laptop screen for them to see. The data wasn't being sent to some far-off server. It's being sent to an address right here in the neighborhood. Brenda's eyes widened, a fresh wave of dread washing over her. You mean someone close by is behind this? Liam nodded, his voice grim. It's coming from a house just a few doors down. Reynolds' expression darkened. Can you pinpoint exactly which one? Liam worked fast, cross-referencing connection timestamps with signal strength. Within minutes he had a match. His stomach dropped. He recognized the address. Brenda did too. No, she whispered, shaking her head, tears welling in her eyes. That's... Liam cut her off, his voice cold, devoid of emotion. That's 224 Pinecrest Drive. That's Julian Foster's house. Julian Foster, Brenda's own nephew. A quiet 22-year-old college student she'd recently taken in. He was always on his computer, barely socialized. Now suddenly everything clicked into place. The unassuming, quiet gamer next door wasn't just playing games, he was playing with their lives. Brenda's face went pale, her denial crumbling into ash. No, that doesn't make any sense. Julian isn't... He wouldn't! But deep down, a terrifying truth was taking root. The facade had shattered, revealing a betrayal far more intimate and shocking than anyone could have imagined. The accuser's own family was the true threat, and the quiet hero had just unmasked the monster in their midst. The walk to 224 Pinecrest Drive felt impossibly long, each step heavy with the weight of Brenda's shattered world. Her nephew, the quiet boy she'd taken in, fed, supported through college. It couldn't be him, and yet the cold dread in her stomach screamed otherwise. When they reached the house, Brenda's voice trembled as she called out Julian's name. No answer. Detective Reynolds and Officer Davis exchanged a look, then proceeded inside. The silence in Julian's bedroom was eerie, broken only by the faint hum of his computer. Reynolds knocked, loudly. Julian, this is the police. We need to talk. Still nothing. Then, the distinct sound of a chair scraping. Footsteps. The door creaked open, revealing Julian Foster, his eyes wide with feigned surprise, darting between the officers and his aunt. His hands fidgeted, betraying a flicker of panic. What's going on? He asked, his voice tight, attempting a casual tone that fell flat. Detective Reynolds's gaze was piercing. We have reason to believe you've been accessing private security cameras in the neighborhood, Julian. Care to explain that? Julian's face barely flinched, but his fingers curled slightly, like he was gripping something invisible. What? That's crazy. I know what you're talking about. Officer Davis wasn't buying it. Mind if we check your laptop? Julian's jaw tightened. You don't have a warrant. Reynolds stepped closer, his voice low but firm. We can get one, Julian. But right now we're giving you a chance to tell us the truth before this gets worse. A long, tense beat. Then Julian exhaled, a ragged sound. Look, I wasn't doing anything illegal, okay? Reynolds cut him off. Then why is your IP address linked to a network breach involving multiple homes, Julian? Brenda's voice broke, raw with anguish. Julian, please tell me you're not involved in this. His eyes darted to her, and for the first time his carefully constructed mask cracked. The bravado melted away, revealing a flicker of genuine regret mixed with fear. I didn't mean for it to get this far, he muttered, his voice barely audible. It started as a joke. I just wanted to see if I could get into someone's Wi-Fi. Just to mess with them. Oh, you admit you hacked into the network? Reynolds pressed, his voice sharp. Julian hesitated, then nodded. Brenda's breath caught in her throat, a choked sob. Julian kept going, his words tumbling out faster now, a torrent of confession. It was just supposed to be a prank, but then I saw the security cameras and I got curious. Officer Davis's eyes narrowed. Curious, Julian? Or obsessed? He didn't answer. Reynolds' patience ran out. How many people have you watched? Silence. Then, Julian's voice dropped, barely a whisper. I don't know. Brenda staggered back, pressing a hand to her mouth. Oh my God! Julian finally looked at her, his face contorted with a fleeting moment of true remorse. I swear I wasn't hurting anyone, he pleaded. Reynolds didn't let him finish. Julian Foster, you're under arrest for unauthorized access of a computer network and unlawful surveillance. Officer Davis was already pulling out her cuffs. Brenda turned away, covering her face as tears welled in her eyes. Liam had been right all along. And the worst part? She had called the cops on him, the innocent man, when the real danger had been inside her own house the whole time, a quiet shadow she had unknowingly harbored. Julian didn't resist. He stood there, wrists bound in cuffs, staring at the floor as Reynolds read him his rights. It was over. Brenna's breath was shaky. She couldn't even look at him. This was her nephew, the boy she had taken in, fed, supported, and he had been violating the privacy of their entire neighborhood. Reynolds guided Julian toward the door. But before stepping out, he turned to Liam, who had been watching from the sidewalk, a quiet observer of the unfolding drama. You were right, Mr. Maxwell, Reynolds admitted, his voice holding a hint of respect. If you hadn't caught this, we might have never known. Liam didn't say anything at first. He just let out a slow breath, looking between Julian, now a defeated figure, and Brenda, a picture of shattered regret. Then, finally, he spoke. Go on. His voice was calm, but the weight behind it was unmistakable. I was out here minding my business, changing my own Wi-Fi password, and yet somehow I was the one who got the cops called on me. Brenda flinched. She had no defense, no excuse. I was wrong, she murmured, her voice thick with unshed tears. I made an assumption, and it was completely unfair. Liam let that sit in the air for a moment. Then, shaking his head, he turned toward his house. I don't need an apology, he said over his shoulder, his voice firm but not unkind. Just do better. And with that, he went inside. Reynolds and Davis exchanged a look. A silent acknowledgement of the profound lesson that had just unfolded, before leading Julian to the patrol car. Brenda stayed behind, standing alone in the middle of the street, the truth a bitter, haunting realization. She had been so busy looking at the wrong person, judging a quiet man based on her own biases, that she had completely missed the true danger lurking within her own family. A mistake that would haunt her for a very, very long time. The story of Willow Creek, of Liam Maxwell and the hidden Willownet Observer, isn't just about a Wi-Fi hack or a nosy neighbor. It's a raw, unfiltered look at the unseen scars left by digital invasion. For the residents of Ashwood Lane, the discovery that their most private moments, captured by their own security cameras, had been broadcast into the mind of a voyeur just down the street, was a profound violation. It wasn't just a technical fix, it was a deeply personal wound. The feeling of being watched, of intimate spaces being exposed, erodes a sense of safety that's hard to reclaim. It breeds paranoia, makes you second-guess every shadow, every flicker on your screen. This saga serves as a stark mirror, showing us the very real dangers of digital vulnerability in our smart homes. But more importantly, revealing the insidious poison of prejudice. Brenda's snap judgments against Liam, based purely on his privacy and not on any actions, highlights how easily biases can blind us to the real threats, and worse, lead us to target the innocent. It begs the question, how many Liams are out there, quietly contributing, only to be met with suspicion, simply because they don't fit someone else's narrow definition of normal? This story also shouts a clear warning. Digital vigilance is not a luxury, it's a modern necessity. Julian's joke escalating into a felony underscores the dangerous allure of unchecked power and anonymity online. In a world where our lives are increasingly intertwined with technology, we must become our own first line of defense. So, how do we protect ourselves? It starts with simple yet crucial steps. Change default passwords on all your smart devices, your router, your smart TV, your security cameras. Those factory settings are an open door for hackers. Use strong, unique passwords for your Wi-Fi and enable two-factor authentication, 2FA, wherever possible. Be wary of suspicious links or attachments, even if they look legitimate. Phishing scams are rampant. Regularly check the connected devices on your network. If you see something unfamiliar, investigate it. Your router logs are your best friend. And finally, consider Liam Maxwell's legacy. The quiet man, misunderstood and wrongly accused, became the unlikely hero through his intelligence, his expertise, and his unwavering integrity. He didn't fight with anger, he fought with knowledge. He didn't succumb to the pressure of false accusations, he calmly exposed the truth. His story is a powerful testament to the idea that true strength often lies not in outward bravado or fitting into someone else's mold, but in quiet resilience, in knowledge, and in an unwavering commitment to truth. The dust settled in Willow Creek, but the echoes of Julian Foster's betrayal and Brenda Johnson's misguided judgment still ripple through the quiet streets. For Liam Maxwell, the quiet man, this wasn't just a victory. It was a profound testament to resilience, a powerful reminder that sometimes the deepest strength lies not in outward displays, but in the quiet confidence of knowing your truth and possessing the skills to defend it. His story stands as a beacon for all of us, especially for Black men and women who too often find themselves under unwarranted scrutiny, to stand firm, to trust our intellect, and to use our unique gifts to navigate a world that sometimes refuses to see us clearly. Have you ever experienced a similar situation where assumptions led to unfair accusations? Share your story in the comments below. Let your voice be heard. Take control of your digital life. Check your Wi-Fi, update your passwords, enable two-factor authentication, protect your sanctuary. We've included simple steps in the description below to get you started. If this story opened your eyes and resonated with you, empower us to keep telling these vital stories. Hit that subscribe button. Like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear this lesson today. Because in a world of unseen eyes, vigilance is our shield, and understanding is our greatest weapon. Let's build a community where truth prevails, and where every quiet strength is celebrated, not condemned. Your support helps us amplify these crucial conversations.